An account posts nothing special on a Tuesday night, and by Wednesday morning it has 50,000 new followers. Not 50,000 people who found it and decided to stay. 50,000 entries in a list, names and tiny avatars, almost none of them attached to a single living person. The owner wakes up to a profile that looks like it caught fire overnight. The number is real in the only sense that matters to a passing eye. It is printed right there under the name, large and confident, and it changes how everyone reads everything else on the page. That is the whole product. Not an audience, the appearance of one. This video is about the market that printed that number. Who makes the accounts, how they are made by the million, why anyone pays for them, and why the platforms quietly delete them in waves that make follower counts drop overnight. By the end, you'll be able to look at a big number and have a rough idea of how much of it is real. A number with a price. Start with the thing being sold, because it is stranger than it sounds. A follower is not a person. It is a single edge in a database, a line that says this account is linked to that one. That link is what gets manufactured, packaged, and sold by the thousand. Once you see it that way, the rest follows. Anything that is just a number on a screen with value attached to it will get counterfeited. Followers, likes, views, comments, all of them are entries in a table, and the table can be filled by a machine as easily as by a crowd. The market exists for the same reason every counterfeit market exists. The real thing is slow and expensive, and the fake thing looks close enough from a distance. The tiers of fake. Not all fake followers are the same, and the difference is mostly about how human they are. There are roughly 3 tiers, and they sit at very different prices and qualities. The cheapest tier is pure bots. These are accounts that no person ever used, created in bulk by software with a stock photo or no photo, a scrambled name, and nothing behind them. They are the rice filler of the industry, sold 1,000 at a time for almost nothing, and they are the easiest to make and the easiest to catch. The middle tier is recycled real accounts. Somewhere a real person made an account, used it for a while, then abandoned it, or had it quietly taken over. These have a history, some old posts, a believable creation date, maybe a few genuine connections from years ago. That history is exactly what makes them more convincing and more expensive than a fresh bot. The top tier is paid humans, real people, often in places where the pay goes a long way, who follow on request from accounts they will never look at again. There is a person on the other end, so the action passes almost every test a machine can throw at it. It is the slowest and priciest way to inflate a number, and it is the hardest to tell apart from a genuine fan who simply never engages. The price of fake follows the quality almost exactly. The bots cost a sliver of a cent each because they take no effort and die fast. The recycled accounts cost more because someone had to acquire a real history. The paid humans cost the most because there is an actual person being paid for each action. A buyer is really choosing a point on that line between cheap and disposable and expensive and durable, and most pick cheap, which is why most of what gets sold falls apart the fastest. Why people buy? Before the manufacturing, the demand. Nobody builds a factory for a thing nobody wants, and the want here is older than the internet. It is the want to look like you already won. The polite name for it is social proof. People use other people as a shortcut for judgment. An account with 200 followers reads as a beginner, and one with 200,000 reads as someone worth listening to. Before anyone has read a single word either of them wrote. The number is a first impression, and first impressions are cheap to fake and expensive to earn. Then there is momentum. A count that is climbing suggests something is happening, that you are early to something other people are discovering. Buyers are not always trying to fool the public so much as trying to trip the algorithm and the herd into treating them as already rising. And underneath both of those is money. A lot of follower buying is not vanity at all, it is unlocking. Payout thresholds, brand deals, marketplace eligibility, all of these often gate on follower counts and engagement numbers. Cross a line and you qualify for things that pay. So the fake follower is sometimes bought not to impress anyone, but to clear a bar that a real person on the other side set as a proxy for trust. It's the yin and han under the whole market. Someone, somewhere, decided that a follower count was a good enough stand-in for being worth paying. The moment a number becomes a gate to money, it stops being a description of an audience and becomes a target to be hit. And there will always be a cheaper way to hit a target than to actually deserve it. A factory, not a hobby. Here is where the scale lives, and scale is the whole story. You do not build a fake follower business by making accounts one at a time. You build it the way you build any factory, by automating the boring part and running it around the clock. Demand it a few things to exist. It needs an email or a phone number to register. It needs to get past whatever sign-up check the platform throws at it, and it needs an internet address to connect from. Each of those is a bottleneck, and the entire industry is really just the business of solving those three bottlenecks cheaply, over and over. The disposable identity problem. The first bottleneck is identity. Every new account wants a unique email and increasingly a unique phone number, and the factory needs those by the thousand. So there is a whole supporting market in disposable ones, addresses and numbers that exist only long enough to receive a single confirmation code, and then are never touched again. This is why the new accounts so often share a strange family resemblance. They were registered against numbers from the same pools, verified through the same handful of services, set up by the same script filling the same fields in the same order. Each account is meant to look independent, but they were all born in the same room, and the room leaves marks. The same fingerprint everywhere. The second bottleneck is looking like a different device each time. A platform does not just see an account, it sees the machine and connection behind it. A bundle of technical details that together act like a fingerprint. The same browser, the same screen size, the same settings, the same address, showing up for account after account is a loud signal that one operator is behind all of them. So the factories work hard to vary it, to make each account look like it lives on its own phone in its own home. But variation costs money and effort, and at the cheap end the corners get cut. 1,000 accounts that all share one fingerprint are 1,000 accounts that get found and removed together in a single sweep the moment that fingerprint is flagged, born in bursts. The third tell is time itself. Real audiences arrive raggedly, a few here, a few there, across weeks and months, in no particular pattern. A manufactured one arrives in a burst because a machine made them all in one sitting. So a cluster of accounts created within the same few minutes, then sitting idle, then all springing to life to follow the same target on the same afternoon, is a shape that does not occur in nature. The platforms watch for exactly that shape. Creation in bursts. Dormancy, then synchronized action is one of the clearest signatures of a farm, and it is very hard to hide while still moving at the scale that makes the business pay. The engagement that never comes. Now the deepest tell, and the one that matters most to anyone who bought. A real follower does things. They sometimes like a post, occasionally comment, watch a little, click through now and then. They leave a faint trail of being alive. That trail is the part the factory cannot afford to forge. A follow is one cheap action repeated a million times. A like, a thoughtful comment, a few minutes of genuine watch time. All of that costs real resources to fake convincingly, and at the scale the business runs on, it is simply never worth it. So the accounts follow and then fall silent, which is the one corner that almost every cheap operation has to cut. Fake follower does almost none of that. It follows and then it goes quiet forever, because making a million accounts actually watch and comment convincingly is far harder and more expensive than making them simply click follow. So the giveaway is a mismatch. An account with 200,000 followers and a few dozen likes per post is showing you, in plain numbers, that most of those followers are not watching anything at all. Moises di Choma. The follower to activity mismatch. Platforms read that mismatch better than any human can, because they can see all of it at once. They know how many followers an account has, and they know how much genuine attention its posts actually pull, and they know what ratio is normal for an account that size. When the followers wildly outrun the real engagement, that gap is itself the evidence. It does not prove who is fake one by one, but it flags the account as inflated and worth a closer look. And once the system starts looking closely, all the other tells, the shared fingerprints, the burst creation, the dead accounts, start lining up and pointing at the same pile. So in how the purge happens, this is why follower counts sometimes drop overnight, and the drop scares people who do not understand it. The platforms do not usually catch fake accounts one at a time as they are made. They catch them in waves. A detection system identifies a whole population that shares the marks of manufacture, the same origins, the same fingerprints, the same lifeless pattern, and it removes them together in a sweep. An account that bought 100,000 followers can watch a large chunk of them vanish in a single night, not because it was personally targeted, but because the batch it bought into got caught. The number was always a liability sitting on the books waiting for the audit, and the sweeps run on a delay, which is part of why the buyer feels safe at first. The accounts work for a while, the number sits there looking solid, and then one day a model that has been quietly learning the shape of a given farm reaches a threshold, and acts on the whole batch at once. The gap between buying and losing is just the time it took the platform to be sure, not a sign that anything was ever safe. Why it usually backfires. So step back and look at whether the thing even works for the buyer, because mostly it does not. The bot follower delivers a number and nothing else. It does not watch, does not share, does not buy, does not tell a friend. It is reach on paper that produces no reach in reality, and it can actively hurt. The same systems that detect fake followers often quietly suppress accounts that look inflated, showing their posts to fewer people because the platform reads the mismatch as a sign of manipulation. So the buyer can end up worse off than before, sitting on a big hollow number that the algorithm has learned to distrust, with their real reach throttled because of the very thing they paid for. A number with value gets counterfeited. So here's the thing to sit with. An audience, in the end, is a number with value attached to it. It decides who gets believed, who gets paid, who gets shown to more people, and the moment a number does work like that, there is a reason to fake it. That is all this market really is. It is counterfeiting pointed at the one currency the modern internet runs on, which is attention measured as a count. The bots, the recycled accounts, the paid humans, the disposable numbers, and the borrowed fingerprints are just the printing press. And like every counterfeit, it spends fine until someone checks it closely, which is exactly what the platforms have learned to do, in waves, in the dark, while the rest of us keep reading the number under the name and quietly trusting it. If pulling everyday systems apart like this is your kind of thing, the quiet machinery running under the things we all tap without thinking, then you are in the right place. No products here, no upsell, just the systems explained by someone who has spent a long time inside them. Subscribe and follow the rabbit hole. Next time we follow the money down a different hole. How a single click can be quietly stolen and resold without anyone noticing. The hidden affiliate fraud that turns ordinary web traffic into someone else's commission. Cookie stuffing, the hidden affiliate fraud worth billions. Once you see how the credit gets hijacked, you will understand why so much of the internet quietly fights over who gets the last click.